Okay, so today we're diving into the life
Okay.
and experiences of Malala Yousafzai,
Right. Yeah.
specifically through her autobiography, I Am Malala.
Yes.
So I think everyone kind of knows Malala, right?
Yeah.
She's the youngest Nobel Prize laureate,
Huh.
um, and such a huge advocate for girls' education.
Yeah.
But I think what makes this deep dive so interesting is that it's not just about like a famous person.
Right.
It's really a journey into like a culture clash.
Yeah. Yeah.
The courage to resist oppression,
Mm.
and really what happens when, a single girl's voice
Right.
becomes like this global
Yeah.
phenomenon, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So starting right at the beginning, Malala's upbringing
Mm.
in Pakistan's Swat Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know a ton about the Swat Valley.
Yeah.
But it's, known for its beauty,
Nice.
but also like a place of political tension.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it. I mean, it is a beautiful region, surrounded by mountains and rivers and things, but it has this history of, conflict and political instability.
Yeah, and one of the things that really stood out was the influence of her father,
Right.
Ziauddin,
Yeah.
who was not only an educator,
Mm-hmm.
but also an activist.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's where Malala, really got this
Yeah.
passion for learning.
Absolutely. I mean, he ran a school, and really instilled in her this belief that education, especially for girls, was like the key to
Yeah.
empowerment.
Right, and, for the listener, just imagine growing up where a girl's going to school
Yeah.
is like this controversial thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's Malala's reality.
Yeah.
So then we have like the Taliban's shadow, right?
Yeah.
And this was something that really fascinated me. Because, the Taliban's rise in Swat, it wasn't just about religion.
Right.
It was about like,
Control. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they were trying to impose their very strict interpretation of Islamic law and education, especially for girls. They viewed that as, a threat to
Right.
their authority.
a threat to like their power.
Yeah, exactly.
And life under Taliban rule, I mean. It
Yeah.
was strict rules. It was fear.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they banned music, they banned television, they enforced these strict dress codes.
Wow.
And they carried out public punishments and things like that.
And one detail that I thought was so intriguing was that Malala started blogging for the BBC at 11 years old.
I know.
Using a pseudonym
Right.
to tell the world what was happening.
Yeah, and she used the name Gul Makai, which means cornflower
Yeah.
in Urdu.
Oh, okay. Did
Oh.
not know that.
Yeah.
But talk about bravery.
Yes.
Like an 11-year-old girl doing this.
And think about it, like in the digital age, the power of individual stories
Right.
is just amplified, And her blog really caught international attention because it was this firsthand account of what was happening.
Yeah, she wasn't just reporting the news.
Right.
She was living it.
Exactly.
And then, of course, the tragic turning point. The 2012 attack on the school bus.
Yeah.
I mean, the Taliban trying to silence her.
And it was such a deliberate act, They stopped the bus, they asked for her by name,
Oh.
and then they shot her.
I mean, it's important to focus on, like, the why.
Right.
I mean, this wasn't just a random act of violence.
Exactly. It was meant to send a message to girls, to women, to anyone who dared to challenge their
Right,
control
so-
girls' lives.
Yeah, I mean, they're saying,
Right.
You don't have the right to speak out. You don't have the right to an education. We control your destiny.
Right. And so Malala's recovery, I mean, obviously she was flown to the UK for treatment and
Yeah.
eventually made it her new home. But
Mhm.
it's remarkable how, despite the trauma, she channeled this experience
Yeah.
into advocacy. Absolutely. She could have, retreated from public life, but she didn't. She founded the Malala Fund and continued to speak out.
Which is dedicated to
Yeah.
ensuring all girls have access to education.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting how she used her platform, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she didn't just call for peace. She demanded access to education for every girl.
Exactly.
And she framed it as a fundamental right, not a privilege.
Yeah, absolutely. She really shifted the conversation.
Yeah.
From, oh, we should help these poor girls, to this is a right that's being denied.
Yeah.
And we need to fight for it.
Right. And then you have, the Nobel Peace Prize at 17.
I know.
The youngest recipient ever. It wasn't just a recognition of her courage. It was
Yeah.
like a validation.
Yeah.
of her message.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it resonated globally
Yeah.
because it showed the power of youth activism, and how education can be this force for change.
Yeah, yeah, and it's easy to forget that amidst all this, the global stage, she's still a young woman. I mean, I Am Malala, the book, never lets us forget that.
Mhm.
She writes about missing her friends back in Swat, dealing with homework, learning
Yeah.
to adjust to like a whole new culture.
Yeah.
Like imagine that.
It's a huge adjustment. I mean, not just the physical move, but also the cultural differences, the language, the food.
Right, right.
It's a lot to take on.
And and these details, I think they're so important because it would have been so easy to just make her story solely about activism,
Right.
but these personal touches, I think they make her so relatable.
Yeah, they remind us that even global icons are human.
Yeah, yeah, and Malala's story, it's such a powerful reminder that education isn't just about books and classrooms.
Right.
It's about
Empowerment.
empowerment.
Yeah, it's about critical thinking. It's about the ability to shape your own future.
And her journey really raises questions, I think, for all of us, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
how can we use our voices
Yeah.
to advocate for change?
Hmm.
What seemingly small actions can we take to make a difference?
Yeah, those are great questions. I mean, what does Malala's journey tell us about the importance of education and the courage to speak out, even in the face of danger?
If one girl's voice can change the world, what impact can your voice have? Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.